Good morning. There was an inherent problem with becoming one of Jehovah's Witnesses years ago. See, we were preaching a paradise earth, which is lovely, and we were showing pictures of palatial homes with good health, plenty of food and so on. And all you had to do in order to inherit this lovely life was preach. So long as you went out preaching, you would get this lovely paradise. What we forgot was that paradise doesn't work unless you live the life that Jesus asked us to live. Now, this was mentioned as Jehovah's Witnesses, but the emphasis was on preaching. So, for instance, when the kingdom comes, if there's a big house and a little house, and two of you need a home, will you say to your friend, you take the big house, I'll have the little house, which is not very nice? And will your friend then say, well, look, I tell you what, I'll make sure that you're comfortable and have everything that you need, and we'll do up your house before I do anything to my house? Are those the sort of qualities, the lack of greed, the lack of selfishness? Were those qualities emphasized? Unfortunately, they weren't. But paradise won't work without them. So how did this affect the governing body? Well, between the 40s and the 60s, the Watchtower Society was governed by Nathan Knorr, and Fred was doing the sort of scriptural things. Towards the end of the 60s, there was a movement to go from just one president to a group of men, and they based it on the apostles in Jerusalem who sent out a letter concerning circumcision. Now, here we're lapsing into Catholic ideology. The Pope succeeded Peter, apparently. These men wanted to succeed the 12 apostles. There was one apostle, Matthias, who was appointed to take the place of Judas, but other than that, once the apostles died, nobody was appointed to take their place. So the 12 apostles were not succeeded. Towards the end of the first century, all you had were congregations with a few elders in each congregation. Each of those elders knew the Bible well. They were examples in Christian living and helped to keep the members of the congregation on the right track. So let's have a look and see what the Proclaimers book, the Jehovah's Witnesses Proclaimers of God's Kingdom, has to say about the governing body. Starting on page 105, they pay lip service to 1 Peter 5, where Peter said the elders were not to lord it over the flock. And then they go on to discuss how a body of elders would work. And Fred Franz said that the members of such a body were all equal, having the same official status. None of them was the most important, most prominent, most powerful member in the congregation. So they could all now be important or prominent or powerful. Nathan Knorr said that in a body of elders, all the elders would have equal authority and share the responsibility for making decisions. In actual fact, it was the governing body that made all decisions. At the bottom of this page, it said there would be a change to closer supervision by the governing body. So Nathan Knorr was in effect demoted, and the governing body now emphasized close supervision, authority, and power. So you can see from this then that there was an opportunity here for good Christian men to think, yes, I could be an example, I know the scriptures well, I could help others to stay the course as a Christian. But there was also an opportunity for those who wanted position, who wanted power, who wanted to rule over the congregation. And there was also opportunity for paedophiles to enter the congregation and have power and opportunities. wasn't good. The emphasis needed to be on Christian life, Christian qualities, and then some preaching work by all means. So on the matter of Christian living, David Splain quotes a verse from Luke 12.
Luke chapter 12. And first we'll read verse 32 to get the context. He says, "Have no fear, little flock." Well, who constitute the little flock? All of the anointed, right? "Have no fear, little flock, for your Father has approved of giving you the kingdom." So he's talking to all of the anointed. And what does he say to them in verses 35 and 36? See if you can see the similarity with what we just read. "Be dressed and ready, and have your lamps burning, and you should be like men waiting for their master to return from the marriage, so when he comes and knocks, they may at once open to him."
If we have a look at the context of that verse, we will find out what the little flock were not to be afraid of. And the whole chapter is talking about not worrying about material possessions, because immediately after telling the little flock not to be afraid, Jesus says, "Sell your possessions, give to the needy, provide yourselves with money bags that don't grow old, with a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief approaches, no moth destroys, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." The rest of the chapter is the parable of the rich man who had a huge harvest, tore down his barns, built bigger ones, and then he died and left it for somebody else. Watchtower, please take notice. If you have billions in the bank, you can surely help the needy a little bit. Living the Christian life, living the way Jesus wants us to live, is far more important than preaching. Preaching is important. But if we live the life Jesus wants us to live first, then the preaching work will fall into place. May we all have plenty of treasure in our heavenly bank accounts. Thank you so much for watching. God be with you, and he will look after you, as Jesus said.